Well, the Harris-Trump presidential debate in Philadelphia is now history, and Americans are digesting what they heard and whether it's going to impact how they vote. I want to get some more results from our post-debate instant polls. Our political director, David Chalian, is back with us. David, what else are you learning?
Yeah, Anderson, this is a poll of debate watchers, not of the country overall or the electorate, obviously. But it's not that partisanly, in a partisan way, different than what we see broadly among registered voters. This is really interesting. Among the candidates' favorable and unfavorable ratings, take a look here at what we found. Before the debate, Harris's favorable rating was at 39%. After the debate, among these debate watchers, her favorability rating went up 6 points to 45%. Donald Trump actually ticked down 2 points among these debate watchers from 41% favorable to 39% favorable. That's about roughly the same. That's not a 2% tick down there is not huge. But I do want to note Kamala Harris's uptick driven a lot by independent voters. She was minus 17. More unfavorable than favorable among these debate watchers going into the debate. And independent debate watchers, they were plus 9 for her favorability coming out of the debate. So a big movement change on her favorability with independents. Take a look at when we asked debate watchers about the confidence in the candidates to lead the country, the ability to lead the country, and the confidence that debate watchers have in that. This is really interesting because even though she was the clear winner in the debate among debate watchers, take a look. 32% say a lot of confidence in her ability to lead the country, and 36% say that about him. She's a little bit better among those who say some confidence in the ability to lead the country. If you add the a lot and the sum together, they're both at 54%. And so they're quite even on this score, which I think is pretty interesting. And then who had a better plan for solving the country's problems? Harris won on this score among these debate watchers as well. 42% say Kamala Harris had a better plan for solving the country's problem. That's compared to 33% who said Trump. And look, Anderson, 22%. 1 in 5 of debate watchers says neither of these two had a good plan for solving the country's problem. That, not necessarily double haters here, obviously, but that seems to be a target audience for both of these candidates to talk to and explain their plans to over the next 8 weeks.
Yeah, interesting. David Chalian, thanks so much. John Kim, what do you make of those numbers?
Well, number one, it tells you
Wow, it's really strange that we got polls popping out with Kamala looking like she's gained a little momentum. She's picked up a little bit of strength. I believe that any independent voters are of the parties the most educated. They tend to be the ones who went independent because they were either Republican or Democrat, and they had enough. They want to try something different, or at least give themselves the flexibility, to be sitting in the middle so you can vote for the stronger candidate if you find one, if you can find a stronger candidate. But Kamala Harris and these little bumps here and bumps there, and Trump is bumping here and there, and basically it's just two pretty bad candidates. It really is. I feel safe holding my vote unless Kamala does something for black people. I feel safe and secure doing that, because if I end up voting for Cornel West and throwing my vote away, or for Trump because I got pissed off, or maybe he says something closer to election time that might make me cast my vote for him, Kamala isn't looking too good. Reparations and anything black. I even got to that part of the debate when they were like talking about race. I was like, here it is right here. Yes, it's going down. It didn't. So I'm calming myself down, and I'm going to pay attention to the words that are being used and them saying that Kamala won a debate that I don't think either one of them could take anything away from, because she left with her folks and he left with his. And if you guys want to take the independents and shuffle them back and forth until election day, you can do that. But I think that the independent vote will harm Kamala more than it will Trump. He got his folks, she got her folks, and they're going to play around with the independents in some of these swing states, and I don't think it's going to go well for her. That's just how I feel about it. I don't think that she has showed a commitment to any group of people. Donald Trump has showed a commitment to white people in this country. If you white, you should feel pretty good about him. If nothing else, you should be able to vote and know that he's not going to do anything to directly harm you or ignore you. We don't have that in our candidate, black people. And we're supposed to be in the Democratic Party and voting for Kamala, but you should give your people a little more than just, hey, vote and she'll take care of you, or she's going to put you in that opportunity economy that she's going to develop. And that makes no sense. I didn't hear any. I don't know if I'm being too critical of her. I really don't give a damn, because it seems to me everything she said in that debate, she said on the campaign trail. Everything. She even brought up the thing about her friend getting molested, and it gave her the inspiration to go and be a prosecutor. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I mean, I can totally understand that. But if you're more of a compassionate person, you don't have to go lock up a bunch of rapists or criminals. There's the victim side of things too that you could play a part. I'm just saying, she can do whatever the fuck she want, but I ain't buying the compassionate. I went to be a prosecutor because my friend was molested by her stepdad. I ain't buying it. I don't buy a whole lot of stuff from her. She just seems like a very dishonest ass politician. Usually, you know, in following politics, I have a better feel. She came on my radar in about 2014, 2015, and that's when she was in California sending she had developed this task force in California. She's sending them out to people's houses, and it was folks who were prior felons, prior issues with the law, and were barred from holding firearms. And she went out of her way to make a task force that went and visited people who were no longer on probation or parole and just were living a life, having a job, but looking decent in life, not homeless. And they were knocking on doors and getting in people's houses and going after guns that way. That's why when they brought up the gun part, no, I'm a gun owner, and Walls is a gun owner. Well, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, y'all gonna be gun owners, but you don't want everybody to have guns. If it came down to which party is gonna take the guns away, it's gonna be the Democrats, and the country's still gonna have the same killings. The shootings aren't gonna stop. That's not the answer. Just like when black people are having all kind of issues in their communities as far as the drug sales and the theft and the gangs and all the other stuff that goes in a low income, low educated area with no resources. And what do? You dump a bunch of resources into that community in the form of policing, bullets, vests, helmets, and racist ass police. That's your answer. And if you realize, just back up and think for a second, why are these little kids breaking the law and selling the drugs? Take the drugs out of their hand and replace them with something. A book, some money, some opportunity, and see where they go. You can't throw bullets and guns and police and then everybody get all offended. Oh, they want to defund the police. Fuck yeah. If you're black in the United States of America and you've seen how the police departments roll through our communities, and your mom can be in the kitchen cooking dinner and 2 or 3 police cars flopping down the street, she just look out the kitchen window and get right back to frying the chicken or whatever she was doing, because it's so commonplace, and it shouldn't be normalized. Seeing militarily dressed police and having them on you at all times and jurisdiction over your life at all times. No, that's not important and necessary for us to obey the law. What's important is to lift us up with education. Let's lift us up with resources. Lift us up with tax-free benefits to start businesses. No one wants to say that kind of stuff, because if you do too much for black people, other people start looking like, why are you giving them that? Why are you giving them that? Black kids in this country don't even understand what slavery was. It seems like something that was a long time ago in a fairy tale land, and it never really hurt. It just was something that, we write about in books. They think that some of the kids who are LGBT and illegal immigrants, and they were going into some of the Asians, and I'm like, what? Reparation? You just want to give reparations to anybody who's been discriminated or anybody who's had a bad time in this country? They might have a valid argument for that, folks. I don't. I don't even have any information on it. But black people have a valid stake to claim, and it's reparations. And I use the word reparations, and it could take any form. It could be tax exemption. It could be a lump sum cash payment. It could be land. It could be a whole lot of stuff. But one thing that is going to have to be is to figure out a way to stop the racism. And if you have areas where you have high levels of racism, you're going to have to do something to remove something from that situation to make the racism go away. If policemen are racist, generally white police are racist, and the black police and the Hispanic police pick up that practice just from working with them every day, let's just take the police out the equation, the white one. We got to have cops. Take the white cop out. There's no reason for him to be there. There's no white people in that community. He can get out. And if there is one white person in the community, that ain't enough to justify a white cop. We're not going to call him just to go arrest that one gentleman. So they got to get the white cops out of the community. And it sounds racist as hell. And they've been killing us. That's racist as hell. Removing a police officer from a community is not racist. It's safe. It's safe, and it's replacing them with a cop that looks like that community, that when he gets off work, he's living somewhere close by, and his family and his kids and his neighbors. That shit makes sense. I'm so mad about that debate, though, you guys. I'm so sorry that I just been like kind of not feeling good today, thinking that Kamala Harris came out of that looking as a winner. And I know that everybody don't follow politics closely, and some people go tit for tat, and that's a lie, and that's the truth. But overall, with no debate, there's no doubt that Donald Trump is the better candidate. And I'm sitting here saying that and like feeling weird about it, because Donald Trump is somebody who I never ever thought I'd find a candidate that he was better than, other than Biden. Biden's a horrible candidate. I thought I voted for Biden, but I thought Trump was a better candidate. But I was still caught up in the trying to support something that ain't supporting me. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. And for those of you who don't believe it, think about who you voted for and why you voted for him. I mean, is it because the other person was so terrible that you voted for your candidate? Because if you did, you didn't vote for the best candidate. You voted for the candidate that was better than the other candidate. The best, the worst evils, or whatever people are saying these days. I don't buy it. I say you take a candidate that you like, and you find a group or a bunch of people who feel the way you do about that candidate, and you push them. You get involved and you push them. You make sure that you're a part of something where your voice is big enough. They've dogged us out, man, in so many ways. Look at unions now. All they get up there on the campaign is talk about union. Their unions are zeroing out. And it's because of both parties. But they don't want to admit it. How are you going to have strong unions and you're bringing immigrants in? You are representing unions that are giving you money. Their dues-paying members are paying dues and going to your political campaigns, and you're taking that money and using it to get illegal immigrants into the country and undermine the labor workforce. Oh, wow. Sorry, folks, but God, I'm just so pissed off about this whole political season, because I feel like Kamala is the bad guy and she's getting away with it. And Trump is a bad motherfucker too, but he ain't getting away with nothing. Everybody know who he is. That's what I said. If he get elected, if he wins, it'll be straight on everybody knowing who the hell they dealing with. The felonies, the sexual accusations, or whatever else. It just makes me feel more like we dealing with a real human being, unlike what all these other presidents appeared to be, just like glass. You couldn't touch them, and they were perfect in their own way, and none of that's true. Every one of them has been racist. Every one of them. You're in that one president who hasn't been racist, including Obama, to take over the presidency of the United States and look at your work and look at what you got, and not see slavery, the beginning of your country, that what you started off messing up really, really, really bad, and you ain't willing to no precedent, none of them. And so I wonder, is it some kind of a pact or something going on that they shake a secret handshake? Because how can you be that hateful? How can you be that racist to a group of people who are powerless. They can't harm you in any way. And even if they were to get their money and their mind together and rise up, it wouldn't be against you. We ain't thinking about retaliation. We thinking about motivating ourselves to do well and to take care of our families and to have barbecues and parties and enjoy our birthdays and holidays. That's all. We like regular people. And back to the show.
Enter the debate in a very close competitive race, and we'll leave the debate in a very close competitive race. However, advantage Harris on a couple of very significant points. David Chellan noting that where she jumped up was among independent voters. We knew coming into this debate that the largest audience of people, the largest percentage of people who said they were open to changing their mind were people who self-identify as independents or as moderates. So the middle of the American electorate, the people who live in the suburbs, the people who maybe voted for Trump in 2016 and Biden in 2020 aren't, incredibly partisan. They're looking for solutions. They're looking for pragmatism. So the fact that her movement was among independents, who had the better debate about
And real quick, he throwing that pragmatism word out. That ain't Kamala. Although that's who they're throwing it out there for. She's not pragmatic, and in no way, shape, or form. And this is a Kamala-friendly network. I don't give a damn which one I turn to. I ain't Kamala-friendly. So they can say whatever they want, but I got it. I got it.
Solving the country's problems. She came into the debate at a deficit with Trump on the economy. It's a different question. That question was solving the country's problems, but it shows she made progress with people. Are you a president? Right? That was her biggest.
Yeah, she didn't come off as presidential. She came off as sneaky. She came off as with that bullshit. I didn't see no presidential thing out of her at all. Shit, Trump looks presidential. He was the president. It's a psychological thing we can't get out of our head. When you look at him as the damn president. He wearing the same clothes he wore when he was a president, and he looked the same. And he talked the goddamn same. Nothing changed that I see. But she did not elevate herself to that. That's not the truth. I didn't look and go, wow, she looked presidential. I've seen that in Obama. I remember when he transitioned from candidate Obama to when he started looking presidential. I was like, holy shit, this might really happen. I don't see it yet, not with her. And she thinks she's slick. She trying to fool us into this shit. No. We got to be smarter in this job. Fuck that. This makes us look like a bunch of idiots. None of us are that stupid. We all collectively got our shit together. We wouldn't even be here. We talking to each other about something that some people just go look at a debate and think they go, oh my God, did you see how she put him in his place? You can put somebody in their place with a lie or all kind of other ways. But don't mean, and as long as we're in the heat of the moment, how you going to prove anything? But one thing that was inappropriate, you guys, real quick, and I know you guys saw the debate, but when in the hell did the moderators start fact-checking the debaters? They jumped on Trump twice. The lady did it once, and that guy David did it. And I was like, whoa. They fact-checked them. I mean, basically, that's not the truth. And I was like, wow, that's very inappropriate, because how can you not lose a debate when the moderators asking you a question, and then when you give whatever response you gave, they're shooting it down like that. The people looking at that is looking at their moderator as a person in a position of authority, and they're like, oh my God, he just told Trump he is a liar. So inappropriate. A moderator is not there to be in the debate, but to moderate the debate. That's easy, but not for everybody.
Challenge. Nobody knows the vice president, whether it's Mike Pence or whether it's Dan Quayle or whether it's Al Gore. You're trying to rise from vice president, whether it's Joe.
We knew Dick Cheney. We knew who Dick Cheney was. So don't act like the vice president role is insignificant. Usually if you have a weak president, you got to be a strong vice president. And Kamala Harris had a weak president. Biden's a weak-ass president. He mental problems. He can't stand black people. He got all kind of issues. And she was supposed to stand up and basically do that Cheney thing. Get in there and push some policies and make some things happen. Instead, she didn't do that.
Biden, you're trying to rise from president to vice president. You have to prove I'm ready for the first job. It is clear that she cleared that bar tonight. Now, that does not mean that she's not still in a very competitive race. But if her progress tonight was among independents, Now the question is, can you carry that momentum forward? We count votes 8 weeks from tonight. Still close, still competitive, but in an election that we all expect is going to be decided on the margins, tonight anyway, the question is, can she hold it? She moved the margins that matter.
You know, that one graph of capability to lead the country.
This dude, David Axelrod, I'm so damn tired of him. I'm tired of that Cajun dude. I can't think of his name right now. It's so many of the Democrats who just sit back and commentate and kiss ass and lie and basically hand elections over to these Democrats because they tell you that the candidate loves you more than the candidate tells you. The candidate is so busy telling you what a good candidate they are that you don't get to tell them they're not, because they're letting you know. Oh, you know, you must have not heard me. Let me say it again. I'm way better than, you know, I mean, it's like, how arrogant can you be? And these people here, they're the dangerous ones because they're like former presidential advisors. And as advisors, they got that inside track. And they probably lie a lot too, and you don't know. But it's intimidating to some. It's best to find it out for yourself, folks. I'm telling you, this politics ain't that bad to get into and to pay attention to. Start reading and listening to news clips and inserting yourself into this, especially you black people who want reparations, because we all we got. Nobody's pulling for that for us. Not even the presidential candidate who borrowed our race to run. I'm sure she'll give it back when she's done.
The fact that they're basically dead even. I mean, think about where we were 7 weeks ago. Wow. Would you have predicted that 7 weeks later that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump would be polling evenly? Donald Trump, a former president, you know, and whatever you think about him, there is a presumption that goes with the fact that you were president, that you know the job and so on. You know, so I do think that she...
Yeah, but she's been pumping him up as this biggest felon ever. I mean, that should balance things out. She's a seated vice president, and he's a former, the last president. That sounds pretty comparable. And he got all these felonies and things piled up on him. So, yeah, that should be pretty even. But no matter what, everything she say is an indictment on herself. And everything that he says about her is kind of like an indictment on himself, because they did beat him in the last campaign. But what have they done? They're running on how bad he was and not how good they are. And they've had enough time to be good.
Filled that, she checked that box tonight. She looked like a president on that stage. There's not a lot of elasticity in this electorate, so I wouldn't expect huge movements here.
You're going to get huge movement if you got everybody kind of giving their color commentation on what the hell happened, but then they bring it back home by saying, I thought she looked very presidential. Oh yeah, presidential. And then some of these people who know shit about politics will go to work tomorrow and get around their friends and say, oh yeah, I think she looked really presidential. And it gets in your head and comes off the tongue, just like flows like water. And before you know it, she looked very presidential. But she don't. She don't act presidential, and she don't look presidential. And if I get my way, she won't be presidential.
But this isn't going to be a race that's won that way. It's going to be won incrementally. She took an incremental step forward.
So I'm a little bit surprised by that, by those numbers, because this is as good as it's going to get for Kamala Harris, presumably. I mean, this was you know, Donald Trump's presumably like worst nightmare that you could have. If you're a Trump supporter, you watch this night, you say, he didn't talk about any of those kitchen table issues like Alyssa was talking about, right? It was grievances, it was rearview mirror, not windshield, it was all the bad stuff. And yet, he's still tied, right? We're still right there, we're still neck and neck. And it's gonna come down, again, to the people in Erie County, Northampton County, Macomb County, Michigan. The question is, are 50,000 people swayed in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania? Were they swayed tonight? Are they going to be swayed the next 8 weeks? Because that's where they are. Those 50 to 75,000. And did those eat away? As John points out, are those independents? Were those swayed enough to come over and stay there for the next 8 weeks?
Maybe.
Let me tell you guys what's going on here with this swinging and all this stuff in these states. The Democrats have done a very good job of convincing black people that they don't need reparations. They've done an excellent job. But they've gone too far with it, because there are a lot of blacks who believe it to the point of where they don't even feel like they have to nuzzle up to the Democrats to be okay. And a lot of them have abandoned the Democratic Party and don't stay too close to politics at all, because things are looking pretty good for them. And they wander off. They don't tend to be real politically involved. And when they are, it's to rope and steer people in for one of the other parties. But usually the Democrats, black people that they've convinced we don't need reparations, are just disarmed to the point of where reparations is the last thing we talk about as well. It's not just other folks not talking about it. I'm having a hard time convincing some black people within my age group that we deserve reparations. And that's kind of shocking to me, because they grew up at a time when we know better. We absolutely lived it. So even though the schools were quite inferior, we still knew better. We lived it. Good Lord, did we ever.
Maybe not, but his iceberg is melting. I'll tell you that. Like, she did well by herself. You're right. It's going to be clawing forward. It's going to be clawing forward. But, he did a lot of stuff that was just, that we haven't even gotten to. That's just horrible.
This dude here, I just hope he can get through this little part right here without busting into tears. He start crying, you guys. I'm going to fast forward this shit.
Wouldn't say that he wanted Ukraine to win. Now, you think about that. It's a very easy thing to say, that you want a democracy that we rallied the world behind, that frankly people in
Yeah, but they have different policies, Van Jones, you dumbass. He won't be taking over for Kamala and Biden should he win. He'll be going in there with his own ideas, and maybe he ain't going to fuel the war.
Are going to help. Gas that's being fracked there is going to help. He wouldn't even stick up for...
So what he's saying is that this war that we've gotten in on in Ukraine, we're giving them weapons and fuel from the fracking, and it's financially lucrative for us. So but he's acting like Trump should have thanked the people. It's not for us to be doing that. I'm gonna tell you though, if we can't really give Ukraine something for them to win their independence or their freedom or whatever, and we're just getting a bunch of hundreds of thousands or at least several thousands of their people killed, as well as the Russians, it'd be best to figure out a peaceful solution instead of murdering a bunch of people. And then ultimately we got to come to a solution. You can't do it forever, but we could do it prior to killing all these people off and negotiating with Putin and Zelensky, as opposed to just jumping on one side and shuffling. You're in war. And I think that's something that we need to change in our Congress and in the president's language. When you're in a proxy war, you're in a war. When you're giving someone weapons so they can go hit someone else with them, you're in war. And it's only going to be so effective that Russia's going to allow Ukraine to be with the weapons that we're sending before they retaliate against us. I mean, they're only going to take so much damage. You can only do so much to them before they're not going to play like you're not giving those weapons to the people they're in war with. I mean, I don't know about the right or the wrong of that, but we have to, kind of be concerned with our own self. And if we're so just nice that we just can't not help when our allies are in a pickle or whatever, then we should have no problem with our American citizens. I just can't believe that we can have such compassion for one group and not for another. And they're citizens of your country. It makes no sense.
The Ukrainians in Pennsylvania when Pennsylvanians are helping us win there. He did terrible.
Well, he could have more clearly.
And he's using rhetoric. Ukraine isn't winning, and we're not winning in Ukraine with whatever that mission is. A defensive one or an offensive one, it's not a winning proposition. It's not good. And Congress, if they're doing their job, should be very heated in their conversations about how we go forward. Or maybe they're just in a holding pattern until Trump takes over. I don't know.
He absolutely stated, look, I would not sign an abortion bill if it came across my desk. He got into the nitty gritty about not 60 votes in the Senate. Right?
On abortion, let's actually play what both of the candidates said on the topic.
One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's...
Is that true? I mean, if you're suffering a miscarriage and they help you, I guess, and it ends up in the baby not making, that's not an abortion, though. What is she talking about? Am I missing something here? Because that sounds like a real, and bleeding in the, I don't know. I just feel like she's being real extreme here, but am I missing something? Is that what it's gotten to? Like, if you're a lady and you're pregnant and you're miscarrying your child and you go to an emergency room, where's the problem? Is there a problem with that? Please help me, you guys. If anybody knows, put the comments in there on this one. I like to know. What the hell going on here? If she's lying that bad, man, come on. Because it just doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard or even looked into, I guess, but nah.
Bleeding out in a car in the parking lot? She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term? They don't want that.
What I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of
He said Ronald Reagan did also. We're like
Republicans do exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
You know, I thought that was probably one of her best responses in the debate. And what Donald Trump did that we didn't play there is in that response, he threw people under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Through his vice presidential candidate, J.D. Vance, saying we didn't talk about whether or not he would veto a national abortion ban. He threw Kansas and Ohio under the...
Well, I mean, you're in the middle of a debate and you got this chick over here lying and shit. I don't know, he might have been caught on the spot or something, but Trump will throw your ass under the bus. And, you know, it's never really harmed the people that he throw under the bus. Isn't that weird? I mean, for the most part, if he just does it in a line or in a one-off. But if he comes after you, you know it. But, God, that was kind of low there, Trump. You got to take care of your VP. You did Pence kind of bad, too. You kind of a hard guy to work for, it looks like.
the bus. He said those were liberal votes. Last I checked, Ohio, my home state, and Kansas are pretty red, but that the American public are not actually where Donald Trump and the Republican Party want to go on abortion. But what I think she also did was, in this debate on abortion on many issues, was, you know, I'm the coalition's person. She talked to different parts of her coalition. We know women are going to be critical. This is the first presidential since the fall of Roe. We actually don't know if it's going to carry over. I think it will still be a top of the ticket issue. But so Donald Trump talks about sorority. She went to a sorority party. Let me tell you, as a person who was a part of a black sorority, that was offensive to black people who know the history. It's not a party. It's a public service organization. So she didn't go there and talk about it, but she talked about, you know, the Central Park Five when he baited her there.
Yeah, but for that to be the race topic about she brought that in, the Central Park Five, and she brought up something else. Oh, the blacks that him and his dad had denied rental stuff to back in the 70s. And I get it. I let me tell you something. I look at that as, I don't know why they did it or how they did it, or if it's one of them things that just white developers and building people do. I mean, is it that bad in this country? Is that what the racism is like? Is the racism that bad? I don't know. But what Kamala did to him, as far as setting him up with the Central Park Five story and then that story, is she's painting him as a racist. And I was like, wow, she just came right out in the debate. I know there were no questions about that really, but she kind of weaved it in that direction. He did that too. They asked him a question, and that's why I don't think we all get a real good. I mean, it's who's the slickest. You know, if you can come out and your answer don't have nothing to do with what they ask you, and they don't say nothing to you about it, you know, I guess you got away with it. But I just didn't really feel that either one of them were being real honorable as far as answering the questions the way they should have been. And she was a little slicker with the words, and she's a better speaker, of course, than Donald Trump is. But he's more of a charismatic and emotional speaker. So if you like Donald Trump, you would take his speech any day over hers. There's nothing she could do. But as far as just out of strangers with no connection, she'll be the best speaker to have. And she's about as generic as you can be. She can speak on any topic and not show any emotion, or she can cry and smile and laugh. Did you see some of the moments up there? That's what sickens me. When she talks about the abortion, or when she talks about certain issues, and I was almost said civil rights, but none of that came up. That's just one of the most horrible parts of the entire undertaking, is that it wasn't even addressed. And that's intentional. That's the part that bothers me the most. It's totally intentional. It was not an oversight. Somebody had to say, we're not doing that.
She talked about Dick Cheney. I know we probably all were like watching Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney endorse because we follow this every single day. But some people probably didn't know he endorsed. That speaks to those Republicans.
No, it don't. No, the hell it don't. Dick Cheney voting for Kamala or endorsing her is not going to make Republicans start looking at each other like, hey, Cheney. Our minds are made up, I'm telling you. Democrats, independents, and Republicans, our minds are made up. And Dick Cheney might influence some people, but it won't be nothing that's going to flip no election. And it's a lot of other Republicans who are going to come out and support her. And there's going to be some high-profile Democrats who are probably going to come out and support Trump. Trump got a lot of folks who got his back. He done came a long way, and not by himself. So it's going to be a battle to the end. But Kamala Harris is not the candidate for us, you guys. I wish there was a way we could get rid of her like they got rid of Biden. But she's going to be in it for the whole, but she's going to lose. She's going to lose, and when Trump gets back in, it is what it is. But we do understand that we probably could have helped and pushed and made things a little better for her, but she's doing a real generic campaign without no substance, without no real talk, a bunch of pre-written, recorded. She keep looping the tape over and over again. Nobody want to hear that. This is an election, and it's a very important one. And that border crisis bothers me the most, because like Trump said, he wants to do a mass deportation, and you brought in all these people, and how's he going to do that? How's anybody going to do it? Let's say the whole country agreed, and we want to take all the illegal immigrants that you Democrats just let in and just make them go back where they came from. How will we even do that? I know some of them probably already are well on their way to legal status or asylum. How do you take an asylum seeker and take asylum seeking status away? How do you do that? I don't know. I don't know if you can.
Erie, Pennsylvania, that you still talk to. And then the independents, showing again, yet he can't be a mature adult and not scream when he gets upset about crowd size.
Yeah, I just think that we're a little too tribal. And I picked this.
Well, the Harris-Trump presidential debate
tape
in Philadelphia is now.
I picked this CNN tape because I was looking for a panel with some black people on it. And I found one. And nobody's talking about reparations, you guys. Nobody's talking about black people in this country and what the people on this ticket. If we're even and everything's good, now there are a lot of people who are saying these things, and that's up to a discussion and a vigorous debate where they're saying, hey, you know, you guys are good. You're on equal footing. All we got to do is be fair to you now. We don't need to give you anything, which means to me that they're comfortable with us where we are, but we can't rise any higher. They don't want to discriminate or harm us anymore, but just stay where we are and everything will be good. But if they see us by some phenomenon going up, what they're going to do is find a way to stifle it or shut it down, because that's not in their plan. We can only do what they allow us to do. And anybody in this country who don't believe that, just think about it. Black people can't do anything for themselves. We have to ask. We have to go through a system that's set up for us to fail. You're totally outnumbered, and you're outnumbered by people who dislike you and your race. You're never going to get anything unless they decide to give it to you. And if they hate, catch 22, but they hate you, but they're not going anywhere. All right. And with that, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and leave some comments. This one here is a tough one. And if any of you find some good reparation debates, newsworthy stories, drop me a link. I will do a show on it. I'm just really having a hard time with it. And then I found a few, and well, it's certain people who I refuse to report on and put on my platform. Let me put it to you that way. But with that, you guys take care. I'll see you on the next one.
Oh.